Thank you for being here and joining us in this event. This tonight's event is titled Music Macabre. This is the Poulsbo Community Orchestra's second event of the season, and we are thrilled to have you here with us. My name is Gabriela Garza, and I am PCO's music director for the 2021 season. As you probably know by now, we decided to move our first part of the season completely online and to offer 4 community events. The first one, which took place last month on September, was a virtual petting zoo in which members of the orchestra introduced their instruments and the family of orchestral sounds. If you by chance miss it and you're curious about it, you can stream it anytime. Just go to youtube.com and you just type Poulsbo Community Orchestra Virtual Petting Zoo, and you'll be able to watch it. So tonight, our second event is titled Music Macabre, and this is, of course, in light of tomorrow's big Halloween celebration. Sorry, 1 second, I'm meeting people. All right. So I will briefly explain to you the logistics of the event and what we'll be doing. Afterwards, I will introduce our guest artist, Sandesh Nagaraj, and then he will take over for the rest of... Hello. Hold on 1 second. Okay. You know, as much as I want to be a master in Zoom, it takes some practice, really. Okay. All right. So what are we doing tonight? So tonight we're all going to be creating our own spooky music composition with ordinary objects, right? With objects found at home. And just to be on the same page, for those of you who arrive a little bit after 7, we should all have by now the following materials: an oven rack, 3 glasses, tape, and like I said this before, make sure it's either packing tape or duct tape, not Scotch tape, and a comb. Now, the event is divided into 2 categories. The first category is titled Find Your Sounds. In this category, Sandesh will be demonstrating and helping you experiment with each of the objects in order to find interesting sounds. He will go object by object, covering all 4 of the objects that you have with you. After that, the second category will begin, in which the sounds that you already found you're going to create a piece following the structure and the steps that Sandesh will tell you. For example, like he will tell you with object number 1, you are going to perform this motion 3 times, and then on the 3rd time, you're going to introduce object number 2, etc. He will give you and tell you specifically what to do and how many times to do it. So don't need to worry or stress too much about it. Once the structure of the piece is done and you all have your pieces, we will do a last run through. Sorry, 1 second. Yes, so after we do the structure of the piece, we will do a run through from beginning to the end of the piece to wrap all of the information together and to practice your piece 1 time. After that, I will make a brief surprise announcement, followed by 5 minutes of a quick Q&A session with Sandesh, and then the event will be over. The total time of tonight's event is approximately about an hour long. Something really important, I will ask you to please always keep your microphones muted. The only 2 microphones unmuted will be Sandesh and myself. If you have any questions or comments, which they're both super encouraged, please send those to me via the chat. Just type them on the chat and I will happily answer them either with a verbal or a written response. But please do your best to keep your microphones muted. This will help us a lot. You are welcome, and in fact, you are encouraged to have your cameras on throughout the events. We want to see that you're having fun and that you are collaborating with us. So we just really hope you have fun. And all right, without further ado, let me introduce you to our guest artist tonight, my dear friend and amazing composer, Sandesh Nagaraj. Sandesh is a composer and a guitarist who was born and raised in India. His works as a band leader and as a composer have been featured in Rolling Stone, Metal Injection, Score Follower, and many blogs around the United States and Europe. Since 2006, he has toured with various groups, performing at venues and festivals across India and the United States. He received his master's degree in composition at the University of Washington, and he currently resides in Seattle. Sandesh and I have worked together in the past. Before the pandemic, I had the fortune to conduct one of his works, and this was a process that I enjoyed thoroughly. And he's not only a fantastic composer and has a great creative mind, but he's also a wonderful person. All right, so that long introduction. After that, I think we're all eager and ready to make some music. So Sandesh, welcome, and please take over. Sandesh, if you're there, please unmute yourself.
Oh, can you hear me okay now?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for the invite. And this is going to be so much fun. And it's good to see so many people logged in to make some noise today using a non-instrument, right? We're using a dish rack, which is not a traditional instrument, which makes it a lot more fun because, you know, there's isn't really a world's best dish rack player, right? We're all today the world's best dish rack players. Yeah, so maybe a little bit of background on, you know, how I got interested in using found objects and waste materials in my composition. You know, back in the day when I was like playing in bands and stuff, I was always interested in bands that did something just a little off kilter. You know, my peers and I would listen to the same bands, but for me, it was always like that one band that used like a different tuning or something. And I was always attracted to like musicians and artists who just, you know, used familiarity, but at the same time did something slightly unique. And yeah, that aesthetic has carried over today in my compositions where, you know, I write for orchestral instruments, chamber groups, and at the same time, I also use found objects with in my pieces. So it kind of gives this sense of familiarity, but at the same time, it also gives this alien-ish aspect to my music. And found objects just can make sounds that traditional instruments can't, right? And today we'll be making some sounds on the dish track, and hopefully we'll discover some new sounds that you'll think is pretty unique and, you know, kind of belongs specifically to a dish rack. Yeah, so let's make some noise. So before we begin, let's just, we all have our little piece of tape. I want us to take a little bit of the glue off the tape. So, so this my tape is about maybe 4 inches long. So you can just either tap on your hand or on the table, and we just want to get rid of, you know, some of the glue of the tape, just so later when we use the tape, it's just easy for all of us to kind of hold it. So I'll just count to 30, and then, you know, we can stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cool. All right. And then you can just stick the tape on the dish rack for now. So as Gabby said, we'll go through 4 different sounds. And but before we do that, I'm just going to show you how I have my dish rack set up. And you can either follow this setup or, you know, whatever's comfortable for you. So mine's just on the table. We're just going to use one glass for now. You don't have to worry about the other 2. So you can pick your favorite one. And I've just placed it next to the dish rack because we're going to grab it later. And I have my little comb. And that's I've just placed it next to the dish rack as well. And the tape is just stuck on the dish rack over here. So this is my setup. And at this point, yeah, let's go through the four sounds. So what I've made is I've made instructional videos for you all that I will play, where I'm kind of demonstrating how to play each sound. And before playing the video, I just want to talk about how I made the sound and what it entails. All right, so the first sound contains 4 strokes, and what we're going to do is we're going to drag our index finger across the bars of the dish rack, and the first stroke you're going to use your nail, and for the rest 3 strokes you're just going to use the palm of your hand. So it's going to sound something like this. So that's my first stroke, and then second stroke with just the palm, third stroke with the palm, and fourth stroke with the palm. Right? It's pretty simple. And at this point, let me share my screen and show you all the video as well. Okay, we got the share computer sound. Okay. Okay, so here's the first video. Right, so there were 4 strokes. The first one was with the nail, and then it was just the flesh of the finger, or just the palm. And with these different strokes, you can totally experiment different speeds and different pressures as well. So what I like to do is change up the speed through each stroke. So maybe go slow in the beginning, a little faster, so you can kind of imagine it as like some sort of a melodic line, and kind of include dynamics as well, right? So soft, hard, fast, slow, and just have fun with it. But we're going to stick to the structure though. So the first stroke is always with the nail, and then the remaining 3 strokes are always with the palm, or just the flesh of your hand, right? Okay, so that's our first stroke. I'm going to give you all about 3 minutes to experiment with this sound, and then we'll come back for our second sound.
All right, thank you. So 3 minutes, this is the time to experiment. Now, here's the thing. If you are like me, I have really, really short nails. So I cannot do what Sandesh did. So what I do is just flip my finger and use the backside of my nail, because I wouldn't be able to make it like Sandesh show. So that's one thing. And also, I also want to encourage you that, I mean, we're all muted while Sandesh explains. So feel free to like try and just like try to find your sounds. We'll actually, we will see throughout this finding the sounds that it takes a lot of practice to master like and to get like these really interesting sounds. So as I am talking, the 3 minutes are passing by. Please practice your sounds. I'm practicing on my end.
And I was also going to suggest, if the nail doesn't work, you can also use the comb. To make the first sound.
And then just to recap what Sandesh says, so it's 4 strokes. It's nail, and then flesh, flesh, flesh. And we want to keep it that way. The speed and the pressure can vary, but always 4 strokes, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Sandesh, I don't know if you can see everyone. I cannot because I'm not the host. But if everyone can give us a thumbs up when they're ready to move on, if they have had enough time. Can you see their cameras?
Oh, can I? Yes, I see a few people showing their thumbs up here. Yep,
Yeah.
yep, okay.
Okay, we're
Cool,
all
man.
good.
Yeah, that was a pretty. Hopefully, that was not too complicated. Yeah, should we move on to the second sound here?
Yes.
Okay. So the second sound is with the comb, and this is again really simple. It just involves dragging the hair of the comb on along the bars of the dish rack, and it's just one stroke, but you can take your time in terms of speed and pressure as well. So you can start from the left side of the dish rack or however you have it set up, and you just want to. And then when you finish, what you want to do is you want to end it off on the table. It kind of sounds like a creaking door towards the end. Um, so again, it's just one stroke of the comb along the bars of the dish rack. And I'll share a video as well. And you'll see that I'm having fun in the video. Okay. So that's our second song, second sound. But in the video, I didn't end it on the table. But that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go through the entire dish rack, and towards the end, just run the comb, the hairs of the comb on the table as the end to the gesture. Yeah. So take some time. Again, experiment with pressure. I like to use really low pressure. That way I get more interesting harmonics from the dish rack. And I like to go kind of slow too. And, I become like a little kid when I'm like playing these found objects. I think of it as a little car or something. And I'm just like, uh, playing around with this object. So really take your time, and I think that's when you kind of like run through like some interesting sounds, and it might spark something. So
All right. Thank you, Sandesh. So 3 minutes to experiment with this comb sound. It does makes it interesting how, for example, you can just do like this. And like not just the sound of hitting the oven rack, but like what happens after the that sound is really interesting too. Instead, if I go like really slow.
The resonance, you mean? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, and sometimes you might run into like some really high frequencies and stuff like that, but that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah. I wanted to say personally, because of the table that I am at, so I am in a plastic table right now. I'm in a chair, but I am using a plastic table. When I run my comb through the table, I find that if I do too much pressure, it just kind of like gets stuck and I cannot like advance. So just maybe try like something lighter. So it naturally like fades away without like getting stuck. It also might have to do with the space in the comb, but yeah, just try different things. And I think we want to aim for like a continuous type of sounds, you know, like where it's not getting like stuck. Or if that's your intention, maybe that's okay. But for me personally, I just like this very nice and smooth all the way to the end.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, like every table, every dish rack, every comb is unique, and I feel like if everyone, like, you know, when you hear every individual person play this, it's going to sound different, and I think that's something that also makes it a little more challenging too, because maybe like you're saying, like the table affects the sound, or like the size of the comb affects the sound, but also that's kind of like it's a good thing, because then you can kind of like make it, you're kind of making your own unique sounds.
Yeah, and before we move on to object number 3, just I don't know if you guys noticed, but in Sandesh's video, he has his glass on top of the oven rack or dish rack. I'm saying this because I had like mine on the side, but it makes a total different sound if the glass is on the rack and then you go over with the comb, because the rattling of the glass, it makes like, it's just endless possibilities. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that detail. And then if you can see their cameras, and if already everyone has had enough time to experiment, they can give us a thumbs up and we can move to object number 3.
Okay. Yep.
Do we see thumbs up?
Yeah, I think we're good to move on. Yeah. Okay. So the third sound is with our glass, and it's gonna involve 4 strokes, just like our first sound with the finger. And for the glass, you want to use just one edge of the glass. And what I'm doing is I'm just gonna draw a circle first, and I'm just going to do 4 strokes, vertical strokes, up and down on the dish rack. So circle, 1, 2, 3, 4. It has a very like voice like quality to it. And I'll play the video as well, so that you can see it a little more clearly. So again, it starts with a circle, and you're kind of drawing the circle with just using the edge of the glass for the entire sound as well, just the edge. Yeah. So circle, and then 4 vertical strokes, down, up, down, up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's take about 3 minutes. Same thing again. You can experiment with different pressures and speeds as well, but I personally prefer slower speeds, because that way I can kind of like really get into the sound, and kind of becomes like a meditation, and I can hear like every subtle change in the dish track.
Thank you, Sandesh. All right, so 3 minutes to everyone. And also a note, because at the beginning we said that you guys could bring 3 glasses, this is a great time to try. We, like Sandesh said, we will only use 1 to make the sound, but we have 3 to maybe like to try the different sounds. Like mine, for example, does not make as cool as a sound as Sandesh does. But maybe you can just experiment with the thicker glass or thinner even. Sandesh, well, everyone experiments with this sound. Just a recap, it's circle and then down, up, right? So 4 times. And we have a question in the chat. So Blaze and Serena ask, why does it change the pitch?
Why does it change the pitch?
Yeah.
Oh, it kind of works just like like a guitar string or any other stretched, let's say, string or a bar, and when you rub it against the bar, the tension along the bar changes. Just like if you're playing something on a violin and you bow and you keep glissing, the pitch changes. But of course, this is the design is like totally different, so you're gonna get like weird pitches. But and that's one of the reasons. And also another reason is when we use just the edge of the glass, you get this sort of a vowel sound. Like when I do it on mine, I'm hearing like ah and e. And as opposed to closing, then it kind of changes. And I think that has a lot to do with it as well. That like there's some air going in and then coming out, creating this interesting resonance.
Thank you. And thank you for asking. I encourage you all to leave comments and questions in the chat. I'm sorry we cannot have the the microphones unmuted, but we can totally communicate through the chat. Okay, so thank you for asking. So, all right, I think 3 minutes have gone by. If we're ready, if people give thumbs up that we can move on, we can move on to sound number 4.
All right. Okay, so sound number 4 is something that I'm really proud of, and hopefully you guys will think it's cool as well. This just happened by accident when I was using a dish track for one of my chamber pieces, and I don't know what sparked this idea of using a tape on a dish track, but for some reason I had a tape lying around and I wanted to just rub it along the bars of the dish track to see what kind of sound I get, and it just made this really cool like bowed vibraphone kind of sound. So what you're going to do is just hold the tape. So you're going to anchor it. Let me do this. So I'm placing my thumb on the glue end of the tape and my index, middle, and ring finger on the non-glue end. And you're just going to hold it as an anchor. Like this finger position is just an anchor. I'm not putting much pressure down this way. And I'm just going to drag the tape along the bars of the dish track, and you'll hear like a pretty interesting bowed sound. And it gets super resonant as well. And I'll play the video at this moment, and I kind of go into a little more detail on how to make the sound as well. Here is a final technique with the tape. I'm going to place my thumb on the glue end of the tape. Now I've taken out most of the glue from the tape just so it's easier for me to hold it. And I'm going to place my index, middle, and ring finger on the non-glue end of the tape. And this position is just going to serve as an anchor. And I'm not really going to put much pressure down this way. and we're just going to drag or rub the tape on the bars of the dish rack very slowly. Here it is just a little faster. And here it is faster. Now you can try this on different parts of the dish rack. So yeah, so there it is. That's the fourth sound. This might take a little getting used to, but I feel like with a little bit of experimentation and a little bit of a practice, you'll be able to get a pretty cool sound out of it. And if you guys have any questions, do let me know. And again, it depends on the dish rack and the table as well, but I feel like with a little bit of experimentation, you should be able to get some sort of a bowed sound out of it. So yeah.
Thank you, Sandesh. All right, so 2 to 3 minutes, so we can try this. Yes, someone said in the chat, it sounds like a whole orchestra. Yeah, it's definitely like these sounds. The first time I heard them, they're really surprising. It's surprising how much you can create. So yeah, I'm just gonna do a little demo. I hope this goes okay. Really, really cool. I'm sure you're getting also some nice sounds at home. And like Sandesh said, I found too that the less glue you have on your tape, the easier, you know, because that way your tape is not like really getting stuck in each of the bars. So just keep trying it. If you have any more questions, comments, leave us in the chat. 1 more minute maybe to try to experiment. Sandesh, if I may please ask you, I don't know if there's some people in the waiting room, if you want to check really quickly.
So how do I do that? Oh yeah,
Okay.
Is it under participants or something?
Yeah, just click participants and
then what do I do? Oh, hang on. Okay, participants. Oh, admit. Okay, cool. Oh,
yeah,
learn something new every day.
Yeah. All right. Cool, everyone. Okay. So are we doing good with our tape sounds? So we got it. People giving thumbs up. Okay, so if we're ready, I think we can move on.
Okay. All right. So we have our 4 sounds now, and now it's when I'm like working with sounds by found objects or just like even just traditional instrument sounds, and I come up with cool sounds. I'm like, okay, now what can I do with these sounds, and how do I put them together in some sort of a meaningful manner? Or so since we don't have too much time, I've come up with like a pretty simple structure for the 4 sounds. And what we're going to do is we're going to start in order. So we're going to start with our first sound, which was which we did with our nail, like with the one with the 4 strokes. So it was nail across the dish rack, and then just our palm, or like the flesh of the hand. And what we're going to do is take the second sound with the comb, and we're going to introduce the second sound at the end of the 4th stroke of the first sound. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate it here.
Thank you. And Sandesh, if you just have a minute, just you can stop sharing maybe so we can see you on the bigger screen. Right. Thank you. Awesome.
Let me try to find myself here. Okay, stop share. All right, is that better? Okay, so again, we're going to introduce the comb, which is our second sound, towards the end of the fourth stroke from the first sound. So if you guys want to try this with me, we're going to start with our nail. Okay, moving on to the second sound. Second stroke, I mean. Third stroke. And here comes our fourth stroke. And you're going to bring in the comb. And while you're making the comb sound, you can still continue rubbing or just moving the palm against the dish rack. And then you're going to end it off on the table.
Right.
Okay. So let's try that again. So in a way, what we're doing is we're kind of like crossfading, basically as the first sound enters and becomes quieter, the second sound comes in, right? So let's give that another shot. Yeah. So here's the first sound with the nail. 2, 3, and comb. And the first sound keeps going. Right? So that's the first time. The second time, instead of bringing the comb on the last stroke, right, on the last stroke of the palm, we're going to bring in the comb a little earlier. So we're going to bring in the comb at the second stroke. So first stroke with nail. Here's the second stroke, and as the second stroke is ending, you're going to bring in the comb. And then you can just keep going for however long you want. And the comb stroke is always one stroke through the bars of the dish rack. Right, so this time we brought in the comb a little earlier. So that's our second time. Our third time, we're going to start both sounds together. So there were a total of 3 repeats. The first time we brought in the comb on the last stroke, and then the second time we brought in the comb at the end of the second stroke. So 1, 2, and then the comb came in. And then the third time we brought both sounds together. Okay, so should we try all 3 times together, Gabby? What do you think? Okay, so okay, I'll count you guys off. 1, 2. I'm just kidding. So here's the first time with everyone. Two, 3, 4, and then the comb. Okay, now here comes the second time. Here's here's the second stroke and the comb. Now here's our last time, both sounds together. How'd that go? So there might be a little bit of juggling to do, with both hands, but we're learning it. So we did that 3 times. Now we're going to do the same structure with sounds 2 and 3. So our second sound was with the comb, and our third sound was with the glass. So if you guys remember, with the glass we did a circle first, and then we did 4 strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to do the same thing where we're going to do a circle, first stroke, second stroke, third stroke, fourth stroke, and then at the end of the fourth stroke we're going to bring in the comb, right? And so let's all try that together. So here's the glass. Again, I'm using the edge of the glass. So circle, down, second stroke, third stroke, and here's the last stroke in the comb. Right? Now, the second time, we're going to bring in the comb at this end of the second stroke of the glass. So again, everyone together, circle. 1, 2, and the comb. And then here you can just take your time and go for as long as you want, but just make sure to end it off on the table. So that was our second time. Last time, we're going to bring both sounds together, right? So circle, so you saw that I was playing around and just like going a little faster. You can totally have fun with it as after the comb enters. Okay, should we do the entire iteration with sound 2 and sound 3 together?
I think we can move on to the last part of the piece.
Last part, yeah. So the last part of the piece, once you finish bringing the glass and the comb together, we're going to take the tape, and we're going to rub the tape on the dish rack, on the bars of the dish rack 10 times. And then each time you can change the pressure and you can change the speed. That's totally up to you. And this is kind of like our outro to this little soundscape. So 1, and you can also do this thing where you can keep making the stroke longer for each stroke. So, you can totally have fun with it. Second stroke. Third stroke. Fourth stroke. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the last one. Yeah, so that'll be the end.
Awesome. I see some improvisation there.
Yeah, it's
Great.
cool.
Very
Yeah.
nice elements, improvise. Also very encouraged. So yes. Okay. So we have now like the structure of the entire piece, right? We're just gonna recap really quickly. So we have object number 1 and number 2. So 4 times. So nail, flesh, 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 last flesh with the comb. And then on the second time through, nail, flesh, flesh with the comb. And the third time, at the same time, comb and nail. And then we have the same type of a structure, both with the glass and the comb. So it's like circle, down, up, down, and then is it up as we go. And on the fourth time with the comb, the second time through is circle, down, up, and then with the comb. And the third repetition, glass and comb together. And then the last part of the piece is 10 different strokes with the tape. So having said that, why don't we just give it a practice from beginning to end without stopping to all of the sounds.
Okay, and between each group of sounds, you can take a couple of seconds, to like grab the glass.
To grab your instruments.
Yeah. I have my mason jar on the dish rack, so I just need to.
And also, last comment, I see some of our audience have like a group of attendees in the same place. Like I see Brescia Hardy, for example. There are 3 people there, Brianna Faxon. So if you have multiple people on your living room and on your space, like don't be afraid. Like all of you can do it at the same time and just see how many glasses can you squeeze in one open rack. So you can have everyone do it at the same time. It might be even funner.
Yeah.
So don't wait for only one people to do it. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking and let's play the piece.
Okay, here we go. Nail. Okay.
All right. Nice. Good job. I think that everyone was very mesmerized about some of the sounds that you make with the comb. Really, really
Uh-huh.
good.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just, experimenting. I'm sure if you guys spent enough time with it, you'll find amazing sounds. And you probably are already finding really cool sounds that I can't kind of replicate on this dish track, because every dish track is different, and every comb is different, and every person is different. So yeah, that's the wonderful part.
yeah. So I have someone in the chat, Blaze and Serena, saying that they come on the edge of the table. Sounds like a door creaking open. I think that is very accurate and it's a little bit spooky. Okay, so Sandesh, quick question. Can you make me a host, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, uh, thank you everyone for interacting with us and participating. I love seeing you in the camera, and I love like seeing you trying this thing. So I hope you had a lot of fun in creating your piece tonight and finding some interesting sound. Now, here's the thing. At the beginning of the event, I said there was going to be a surprise announcement. Now, this is, thank you, Sandesh. This is completely optional. But if you're like me, you would like to like perfect your piece and polish it and actually practice it a little bit. And then you want to show it, right? You want to perform it. So we are going to open the floor for optional post-event video submissions of your pieces throughout the next week. Depending on how many submissions do we get, Sandesh and I will choose 2 or 3 and post them and show them off. We want to show off your work on our social media, on our Facebook page. If you are interested and you want us to feature, if you want for us to feature your piece on our social media, this is just what you have to do. So after tonight's meeting, start practicing a little bit more, practice your sounds, and go over your entire piece a few times. When you feel you are ready, just set your iPhone somewhere in front of your set and just hit record, take your place in the set, play your piece beginning to end, and then just pause the recording. Choose a super fun name for your piece, right? Because it has to have a title, and you can get as creative as you want with this. And lastly, you just need to send me the file to my email address, including your full name, or in the case that if it's very different participants, include all of the participants' names and the title of your piece. So I'm going to tell you my email address now. In case you're interested, you can write it down. Super simple. It's musicdirector@poulsbocommunityorchestra.org. So you can send me literally your video straight from your iPhone. Don't worry about cutting it. We can cut it off. So I really encourage you. And also, extra fun, if you want to have like a nice Halloween costume or any fun decors on your setup, highly encouraged. Yeah. And that's it. So we will be receiving submissions for an entire week from now until next Friday. And then right after, we will publish hopefully 2 or 3 videos that we receive. And you can get as creative as you want to. Also, if you have questions, you can direct them to me at that email address that I provide, musicdirector@poulsbocommunityorchestra.org. And okay, all right, now. So for the last 5 minutes tonight, I just want to open the floor to you, our audience, to ask some questions to Sandesh. So if you have any questions or comments for him, this is the time to do it. Now that we're not practicing and we don't have our hands busy, type those questions or comments in the chat. I see one comment right now. Let me read. Okay, so Brescia, this was so spooky. Thank you. It was. So if you have any questions for our guest artist, you want to know a little bit about like why does I have questions for him, but if you have, I want to give you this 5 minutes to you. This is the time to do it. Let's see. Okay. Does the chamber music you mentioned include discover sounds? Sandesh, we have a question from you from the end. She says, does the chamber music you mentioned include discover sounds?
Yeah. In fact, the piece that Gabby conducted of mine in 2019 had the exact tape sound in it, and it's blended in with the violin, because this kind of sounds like a tremolo effect to me on the violin, or like maybe like a harmonic, which is kind of like trembling, and this dish rack sound is kind of piled on top of that. So it kind of makes this richer sound. So the sound of the violin and the sound of the dish rack together give it a really interesting sound. So yeah, all the time I've explored using like weird mechanical like vibrators and stuff like that on the dish rack that vibrates it and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just a constant experiment.
Thank you, Sandesh. And then, if I may add, in the piece that Sandesh is talking about, there was also a really cool sound made by straw. I like that one in particular. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
So we have another question. What is Brescia asks, what's the oddest found object you composed with?
Oh, interesting. Odd. Oh yeah. I don't know if it's odd, but I used a car horn, and I was in India in December, and I went to this kind of like a vintage the store that just had like antiques and stuff, and this guy, he just had this car horn from like the 70s, and that stopped production of this company. And interestingly, the horn, the car horn, kind of functions like a horn. It has a actually it has a reed inside it as well. And I've been messing with that for a while now. I wish I had it next to me. It's in my room, but yeah.
Thank you. And we have a last question for you. Brianna Faxon asks, how did you pick an over rack?
I don't know if there's if I remember how I picked it, but I remember I was cleaning out my fridge in my old place, and as I was cleaning it, I heard this sound behind the fridge, and I looked, and it was this rack, and I just picked it up, and I just dragged my fingers through the bars, and I was like, oh, that's a really cool sound. And then it was just like weeks and months just trying different things on the oven rack, putting it on different tables, because the table definitely makes a big difference to the resonance. And yeah, using like different things around me. So it's kind of like I do become like a little kid when I play with found objects. I'm constantly like grabbing things and experimenting, and I think that's the fun part of it, and that's what kind of keeps motivating me to do music, I guess. Kind of going back to the roots.
That's really nice, Sandesh. And I think that for what you say, it's something that you're always doing. So like you're always experimenting. It's not like you just sit one day and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna compose this piece and I do it in 1 hour. Like it takes like months to find like special techniques and to find exactly what you're looking for, but you don't know what you're looking for if you haven't tried, right? So you need time to do that.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Very nice. Awesome. Well, many thanks to Sandesh for sharing your time and talent with us. Thank you to the wonderful board of directors of PCO for helping making this event possible. And lastly, thank you to our audience for engaging with us and participating in tonight's Music Macabre. I hope you enjoyed the event, and I will see you next month for our November event titled, thank you, people are clapping. Our November events, it's titled The Sopranos World, and more details about that will be coming up soon. Please keep in touch with us and leave us a comment via our Facebook page, which is super simple, just facebook.com/Poulsbo Community Orchestra. Or you can visit our website directly, which is poulsbocommunityorchestra.org. So yeah, thank you. My name is Gabriela Garza Canales, and I hope you all have a great weekend. And don't forget to submit the video pieces, the pieces to us if you want to be featured in our social media. So thank you, and see you in November.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Sandesh.
And happy Halloween.